They did it again, man. I hate this team. They do it every single year. I tried to warn people. I tried to tell people they were going to end up doing it again if you didn't watch out. And the Raptors have done it again. They had a good free agency, which we talked about. It wasn't the big names that other teams brought in. It wasn't the big names that the Bucks brought in. And it wasn't as good as the Bucks because they didn't bring in a Drew Holiday. But the Raptors did what the Raptors do, and that's go out in the draft with the 29th pick up probably one of the more well-rounded prospects in the entire draft, one of the most NBA-ready players, someone who at 22 years of age played multiple years of college, was a great passer, was a good scorer, was pretty much good at everything, had question marks over his upside like so many of these guys do. The Malcolm Brogdons of the world, all of these guys always have question marks over their upside. But who cares about their upside when they come into the NBA and they're already ready to be fantastic role players with the 29th pick? And that's exactly what the Raptors got yet again. I'm telling you, this team just continues to do it, and people continue to not even care about the moves Masai Ujiri and the Toronto Raptors are making, because a video came out of them apparently being very interested in trading up for Giannis a few years back. And does that surprise me? If any other team had have come out and said that, I know they came out with a video, so obviously we knew it was true, but if any other team had have come out and said that, I would have been like, yeah, okay, you were probably interested in about 12 other prospects as well. But when the Raptors came out and said it, I was like, sounds about right. They don't miss. They just don't miss, this team. And it's just a joy to watch, because they might not be the champions this year again. They might struggle to win a championship until they get another superstar player, because you look at the LA teams and all of these other big name teams, they've got the superstar players. They're still contenders, probably towards the lower end of contenders because of that reason, and because we haven't seen Pascal Siakam perform as the number one option in the playoffs like he's going to need to do. But at the same time, we've seen that they were really close to making the Eastern Conference Finals with Pascal Siakam playing absolutely woefully in the playoffs. So they're still a very good team that wouldn't surprise me if they made it all the way through to the finals. But I'm not even here to talk about their prospects heading into next year, because I know, and most people that watch basketball know, they're going to be another good team. Although some people pinned them to drop towards the bottom of the Eastern Conference for whatever reason, I don't know, because they had the second best record in the entire league last year and didn't get particularly worse. They made all the nice signings they needed to make, and they did what they continue to do. They brought in another draft prospect that's going to be another steal. You've got OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, Terrence Davis, Chris Boucher. Who am I missing? There's probably half a dozen other ones. Norman Powell, Fred VanVleet. The list goes on and on. Matt Thomas was undrafted. All of these guys on their roster were pretty much underrated players heading into the draft, and they managed to snag them up, and they worked their magic. They did their little voodoo juices thing, and all of a sudden they turn into all-star level players or subs to all-star level players. And I'm not someone who's particularly big on the draft, but I watched some footage of Malachi Flynn. I read up on him, and I thought he was going to be a fantastic fit for whatever team picked him up. So when the Raptors picked him up, I was like, here we go again. You've let it happen again. You've let a team in Toronto who never miss on draft picks, who have the best developmental system probably in the entire NBA, pick up a really NBA-ready prospect who's going to come off the bench and play 20 minutes a night from the get-go and give you 10 points, a couple of assists, and some efficient shooting, and just do everything to run that second unit, and probably build a nice relationship with someone like Chris Boucher, who needs someone who can make those passes in the pick and roll. You've done it again, and that's exactly what happens. And we've already seen signs of Malachi Flynn being a steal. 1 game in, 2 games in, I didn't watch the last game he played. I watched this game, and he just looked fantastic. I know I've already seen people say Flynn over Ball. Let's not get carried away. Ball's like 19 years of age as opposed to Flynn's 22. We expect one of them to be more polished, and one of them probably is already more polished. He doesn't have the upside, don't kid yourselves, but at the same time, he did come in and he was one of the better players on the court in the 20 or so minutes he played. He came in, he showed his ability to hit threes. He was disruptive as a defensive player. He picked Ball's pocket. I'm pretty sure it was Ball. Maybe it was someone else. But he picked someone's pocket, went all the way down the floor, and ended up dropping a dime on that passage, or maybe he got to the rim. Doesn't really matter. He showed a really crafty handle in that mid-range game. He was shaking guys and getting to that mid-range spot and hitting those jumpers. He did one on Cody Zeller, which if you watched the game you would have seen, or if you watched the highlights you would have seen. But he also did another one which was called for an offensive foul. And it just was enough for me to suggest he's going to have no problems getting separation, which is what some people feared would be the issue because he's not a major athlete, he's not a big guy, but it was just that real deceleration, which people don't talk about enough as an athletic trait. Being able to stop on a dime is athleticism. It's not jumping out of the gym, it's not moving at 100 miles an hour, It's stopping when other players don't expect it or aren't able to do at the same time. And he did that. It was maybe a slight push off. I don't even know if it was an offensive foul, but basically he ran 20 yards up the floor. He stopped on a dime and hit a mid-range jumper. He did that twice in the game, one against Cody Zeller and another one that was called for an offensive foul. And it was just enough to me to suggest he's going to be such a solid player off the bench for Toronto. And they've just done it again. Also, his playmaking looked nice. He dropped a lob on the money to OG upstairs. It was perfect. He dropped a couple of other dimes in that game. He was hitting a couple of 3 balls. He was getting to the rim. Toronto, man. Toronto, do it again. Just polished NBA-ready prospect. And you've got Terrence Davis, who also looked really good as a combo guard. Him alongside Malachi Flynn. They complement each other well. One of them's more of an explosive, bulldozing kind of guy, gets to the rim in Terrence Davis. Malachi Flynn's just a real steady hand who makes the right decisions, isn't quite as explosive, but can get his own shot, can create for others. As I've said, I'm really excited to see what him and Chris Boucher can form, because I think that pick and roll partnership, that pick and pop partnership potentially could be really solid coming off the bench. Think of Lou Will, Montrezl Harrell. Maybe that's the kind of upside these two have as a bench partnership as soon as next year. That would be immense to see, and that would change the hopes of the Raptors. Sure, they don't have their superstar yet, but if you can have a dynamic bench duo and you add Terrence Davis to that mix, who looked really good this game, a dynamic bench trio, then all of a sudden, Norm Powell, a dynamic bench in general. Forget about the trio. The bench mob is back, and they didn't need to put Fred VanVleet back on the bench to get that. They've already got a bench mob back. Pascal Siakam, Fred VanVleet have been elevated from that bench mob, and all of a sudden they've found their replacements. I mean, they've basically just found Fred VanVleet 2.0. That's basically what it is. If you want a simpler explanation than what I've been saying, Fred VanVleet 2.0. That's basically what Malachi Flynn is. They're different players, but at the same time, like, the simplest way to put it, it's the Raptors being the Raptors, and I hate it, but I love it at the same time, because it's just so good that they can continue to just make smart acquisitions, whether it be in free agency, guys like Aaron Baines, picking him up, a perfect acquisition for their team, really smart, or it be through the draft. They've done it time after time, that it's just quite incredible, really, and I thought I'd make a video on this. It's just one player, Malachi Flynn, really. That's all I needed to see to make another video on Toronto, because I think they're probably the most well-run organization in the entire NBA. Not probably, they are. They don't have the same help as the big market teams that can lure guys like Anthony Davis and LeBron James. Yeah, I'm looking at you, the Lakers, but the reality is they don't. LA Clippers, even they can lure guys because it's LA. Toronto, for some reason, don't get those big name free agents. I don't live in America or Canada, but I know Toronto's a nice place. Why they don't get those big name free agents? I guess it's not home to a lot of people, so that makes sense. But at the same time, why wouldn't you want to go to Toronto, seeing as it's such a well-run organization? They've got a great team, and they've got a space for a superstar guy. Next free agency, we're going to see. There's going to be a number of free agents next year, and we're going to see if people want to go to Canada, because I don't see why you wouldn't want to go there when they've already got the pieces in place that if you come in as a superstar player or even an all-star level player, you can come in and push that team over the edge. They're already around to the mark, and they're going to continue to make smart moves as opposed to going to another team that you don't know what's going to happen from day in and day out. You don't know what kind of moves they're going to make. You don't know what head coaching they're going to have. That's another thing about Toronto. They've got the best head coach, or one of the best head coaches in the league as well. Another smart move made by Toronto. They got rid of Dwayne Casey. People thought that was ludicrous because he just won Coach of the Year. Well, they brought in Nick Nurse, and then they won the NBA Finals. Pretty smart move. Pretty smart move. Also, the Kawhi Leonard thing, some people questioned that. Pretty smart move. Pretty smart move. I'm not a Toronto fan if you can't tell. Just thought I'd clarify that, because some people might think I'm just being incredibly biased and just sucking up to everything Toronto are doing. No, I'm not a Toronto fan. I'll just make that clear. But at the same time, I'm a fan of a team having such a well-run executive office and just being so smart in every decision they make, so meticulous, continuing to make the right pieces, not going all out. They went all out with Kawhi Leonard. That worked out. But in terms of just making the right draft picks, not going for a high upside guy, they did that later in the draft with Jalen Harris, who could turn out to be something he probably will, knowing the Raptors. But they just went for Malachi Flynn. They knew what they had. They knew they already had like a good 7 to 8 man rotation. They wanted to bring in someone that could immediately come in and make an impact. And from one preseason game, we've already seen that he's definitely going to do that. This team, man, they just continue to do it. And like I've said, I love it. I hate it. I just love it in general, really. It's a great thing to see, and I really like teams like this continuing to win. I think they should be rewarded even more than they are, and I hope they're rewarded with another championship, because a team like this deserves to win multiple championships. They do it the right way, and they do it the smart way consistently. They've also got a really nice fan base, and that fan base is probably watching the video. And if you could drop a like, subscribe to the channel. I'm not sucking up to you just so you do that. I just thought I'd say that. It wasn't planned out that way. But anyways, if you could drop a like, subscribe to the channel, let me know what you think about this video. Other than that, I'll catch you next time. Bye.